Awesome. Hello, everyone. Hope too loud. Already feedback. Hope everyone enjoyed lunch. Thank you, sir. Beautiful. So we are here to talk about Realms and SPL governance. I'm Emon. For those of you who don't know me, I'm at Solana Labs, helping lead product on the DAO side. And I wanted to start just by echoing some of the stuff that Dean, you talked about earlier today. I think it's such a unique opportunity to have basically the entire Solana DAO space in one room together. We were joking last night, this is a lot of key man risk. If something happens to this building, there go Solana DAOs as a whole and our entire infrastructure. But I think with this opportunity, what we really believe at Realms is a rising tide lifts all boats. It's about all of us working together to help promote this ecosystem, help it flourish, help make Solana the best place to start a DAO. And I think in that, it's important not to miss the forest for the trees, in the sense that, we could build the best DAO tooling possible. But even with that, you could see a world where DAOs still don't have the traction that, say, NFTs or DeFi have in the crypto space. And so I think it's on all of us to think about, hey, not only what are the tools that we're missing, what are the gaps that we see in the ecosystem, but also what can we do to really build traction of DAOs holistically? What can we do to make DAOs the great first step for people converting from Web 2 into Web 3, maybe in such a way that they don't even realize the community that they're participating in is a DAO? Because I think communities carry a lot of power with them. It's the natural organizing function for how we as societies come together. And so thinking about how can we all come together in this space and think through our own ecosystem, what are the gaps, what are the ways that we can work together to help this rising tide grow as it has been over the past. So that's what we're going to focus a lot of this talk on, actually, is talking about the Realms roadmap, where we're at today, where we want to go in the future, and what are the areas that we'd love to work with everyone here to really build this ecosystem in totality. So jumping into it, Realms today, and I'm going to spend, we're thankfully a lot of people here are familiar with Realms SPL governance. I'm going to spend less of the time of this talk on that piece and much more in terms of roadmap, where we want to go. But where we're at today, and obviously these numbers have since been affected by the crash we've experienced in the last few weeks. But I think directionally, what's great to see is, despite the fact that it's so early, despite the fact that we still have such a long way to go, we're actually holding our weight in terms of the DAOs on Solana, where we sit in the ecosystem. Mango UXD at the time of this, $1.3 billion, about 16% of Ethereum DAO treasury value. So that obviously is great to see, and we want to be promoting this and see many more DAOs on that list. I'll quickly go through the different types of DAOs we're seeing on Realms, but won't spend too much time on this. Multi-sigs, you all are familiar with them. We have multi-sig support within Realms. Squads is also an amazing multi-sig product as well. This is kind of the entry point for folks in the ecosystem. Sorry. There we go. Fundraising Dows, this is kind of Nation, if you guys are familiar with this. A way for people to very easily raise capital around a certain cause. We saw this with Ukraine DAO. So for those who weren't familiar, basically within the span of 24 hours, 48 hours, we were able to bring members of Ukraine government into a multi-sig, help them raise funds for donations toward Ukraine. I think we raised something like $2.53 million. And what's great about this one is, imagine trying to do this in a Web 2 context, right? It would take you so long to deal with the regulatory hurdles, the banking hurdles of raising capital across the world, across all these different countries to this cause. And we were able to do that in 24 hours. And that's one of the things that I want to sort of keep in the back of our minds too, as we go through all of this, is what are the areas where we could leverage DAOs in these communities to build unique to crypto experiences that couldn't exist anywhere else? And I think this is one really good example of that. Sorry, we're having some clicker trouble. Where were we? Okay, tokenized community DAOs. Our gracious host, Grape, is a good example of this. Effectively leveraging the token structure to manage your entire community, voting on chain, having proposals exist on chain, rewarding DAO contributors. And I know we're going to have several panels later on this week on the rewarding as a topic. Protocol DAOs. So Mango is a good example of this, basically controlling an entire protocol using a DAO structure, making decisions on fee structure, maybe new pools in the context of a DAO. NFT community DAOs. I know Monkey DAO is here as well. They're probably the largest NFT community DAO that we have on Realms SPL Governance. And this is an area that we're adding a lot of support and functionality into. So with NFT community DAOs, one of the things that we've built out is the ability for users to use their actual NFT to constitute membership to the DAO. So no longer do you need a separate token to do that. And you can also use your NFT to come in and vote within the DAO as well. You can have different voting weights for different NFT collections. And the reason that this is so impactful is because you can imagine a world, and the world that we want to get to is one in which every NFT community starts as a DAO, even before they actually sell that initial NFT collection. Because what this does is it allows them to set the DAO treasury as the place where the proceeds from that NFT sale go, where the royalties from that NFT sale go. And me as a person who's interested in that NFT, I know that I'm going to be much less likely to get rug pulled because I'm going to buy into this collection where I know where the proceeds are going, and I know I'm going to be a member of that treasury. And so we're working with folks like Metaplex, Magic Eden, Olaplex on trying to bring that vision to life. NFT collector DAOs, this is a group coming together to purchase NFTs as sort of an investment vehicle. On this one too, a lot of interesting integration opportunities. One in which we've been talking a lot about is how do we allow people to actually list NFTs that are in their treasury directly on one of these marketplaces from within Realms SPL Governance. Right now, the process of doing that, you basically have to trust someone in your DAO community, transfer that NFT to them and have them list it on their own. And so we want to really streamline that process. Investment club DAOs, I think Jose is going to be doing a separate talk on friends and family DAO. But as we start to think about legal structures for DAOs, I think doing work to actually create legal entities that we know from a regulatory standpoint are valid and are consistent is going to be really important. So friends and family is one example of that, basically allowing you to create an investment club, legally compliant, that's incorporated within the UK. And like I said, Jose will go deeper into that. I also know the squads folks are thinking about this a little bit as well in terms of regulatory frameworks. Same with real world asset DAOs. So Montana Land DAO, they have this concept of an SDAO to allow you to purchase real world goods. So land, IP, real estate in the context of a DAO. And they're basically dog fooding this with the notion of Montana Land DAO. They're purchasing land in Montana in a DAO format. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. And just really quickly, overview of Realms SPL Governance. You heard Sebastian talk about SPL Governance earlier today. Asset type, DAO type agnostic. Everything's completely on chain. One of the benefits of being on Solana. And then the front end for that is Realms, which you can go in, you can create a DAO, manage your DAO, make proposals, vote on proposals, manage your treasury. And a big thing we've been adding onto Realms is integration. So we have 10 plus integration partners today, ranging from notifications, identity, treasury management, DeFi. There's a ton of front-end platforms being built on top of SPL Governance, Unique VC Nation, The Human, and then we also have a bunch of plugins as well. But obviously, all three of these lists we'd love to expand as you know we build out the DAO tooling on Solana. Which brings me to the roadmap. So this is going to be the crux of what I want to talk about today, and the crux of what we'd love to work with all of you to address as an ecosystem. For us, from a Solana perspective, from a Realms perspective, it's really thinking through how can we use DAOs to help drive activity on Solana, help bring more users, more capital to Solana as a chain. And the pillars that we see in doing that, we really break these up sort of by user group. So the first one is basically how can we help convert folks from Web 2, whether it's communities or users, into Web 3 as sort of the DAO being the first place for that. The second one is within folks who are existing in Web 3 today, how can we increase sort of crypto adoption of DAOs? And then finally, for existing Realms users, how can we improve the experience for them? So I'm going to go through each of these. So first, thinking about the Web 2 context. Some of you might have seen it happened on the same day that all of this Terra stuff happened, but we announced an integration with Instagram, basically allowing for NFTs to exist within Instagram. Solana was one of the few chains that were sort of the first class partners in that integration. And so one of the things we're thinking through is how can we pursue other of these sort of high impact integrations with Web2 players, specifically players who already have a lot of communities on their platform, and basically allowing them to DAOify their communities using Solana and SPL governance as the background for that. A tangential one to that, but somewhat similar, is thinking through, are there certain platform plugins we can pursue that are independent of having a formal partnership with that company? So with Reddit, imagine a world where we're able to build sort of like a Reddit DAO plugin where subreddits on Reddit can come in and instantaneously create a DAO, leverage SPL governance as a source of treasury for the folks within their community. And we sort of do this as a plugin on top of Reddit rather than trying to natively integrate with Reddit. Obviously, there are cases where we'd love to natively integrate with the Web2 company, but as I think we all know, Web2 companies can often be slow to adopt Web3. And so what are the things we can be doing to kind of spearhead that conversion? And then the last one, it's around these unique to crypto experiences that we were talking about. So like I said, I think Nation Ukraine DAO is a good example of that. There's this notion of personal family lockers that we've talked about, basically using a multi-sig to safeguard your own family's information and allow for multiple people in your family to have to sign off on a transaction or something happening. But basically brainstorming, hey, what are other unique to crypto experiences we can create around DAOs to help increase that activity? So next, we're going to talk about within crypto adoption, what can we be doing to help enhance the utility of DAOs and bring more people into the ecosystem? So this is one I think is actually really, really important to our DAO space. Sebastian and I want to say spend like 20 to 30% of our week each week just talking about people who are interested in creating a DAO, telling them the same things, walking them through the steps. And obviously, enhancing products is going to be a big part of that, right? Making it very easy to create a DAO and you don't need someone kind of hand-holding you along the way. But as I'm sure all of you as DAO builders know, there's so many complex and important decisions you make in the process of creating a DAO that even if you have this amazing product that explains everything to you, just having someone there that you can talk things out with and that can kind of support you through that process is really important. And so the notion of this one is how can we create sort of a white glove service especially for some of these bigger protocol DAOs to help them get set up, launch their token, et cetera, et cetera. And this is one where we'd love to work with the ecosystem around as well. Like for all these things, we're not going to be able to do them ourselves. And I think there's a lot of interesting gaps for people to pick up and jump into. And I think this especially is one big one. General awareness building. So one of the things I hear often, especially when I talk to folks on Ethereum or folks who are new to Solana is, oh, I didn't even know that Solana had DAOs. I didn't know Solana had DAOs. I didn't know SPL governance was a thing. And I think we could be doing a lot more around awareness building. We just set up the Realms SPL Governance Twitter. We've made one tweet from it. So I think this is both a gap for us, but also a gap for the ecosystem as a whole as well. Thinking, how can we promote ourselves? How can we leverage different channels to really get the word out? Not only tooling wise, but highlight a lot of the great success stories that we've seen in this space between Grape, between Mango, between all of these incredible DAOs. NFT community DAOs is a big one for us as well. So like I said, we recently enabled some of the tooling around NFT community DAOs, but there's still a lot to do here. So one is the actual process of setting up an NFT community DAO is very, very difficult today. So streamlining that. Two is some of those integrations I was talking about. Like how can we create a culture such that creating a DAO is the first step in going about and minting your new NFT collection. And then three, all of the corresponding documentation and support that will go into supporting that. So more work to do on our end from sort of a user research product perspective, but also a lot of ecosystem work to do as well. And especially for verticals like these, like NFT community DAOs, you can see the world in which there's a lot of dedicated tooling that will be needed for NFT community DAOs that are very specific to that use case and that maybe other DAO types that exist within Realms wouldn't benefit from. And so this is also a great example of a place where having a sort of verticalized front end would be really beneficial. I know this is something that the Unique guys are thinking about as well. And so, yeah, in general, we see this as a really big traction area for us as a DAO ecosystem. One good example of this, actually, and these numbers, we're still working through the metrics of Realms, but I want to say Realms had something like 3,000 or 4,000 total members who had ever taken some governance action within Realms all time since Realms and SPL Governance have been around. We introduced the NFT Community DAO plugin, and the pandas got set up within Realms. And all of a sudden, within a week, that 4,000 number became 6,000, where they literally had 2,000 members come in, take governance actions within Realms. And that's just one NFT collection. Granted, a big one, but I think this is an area where we can see a lot of heat and traction around. Gaming DAOs is another one. So this, I would say this is much more nascent than the NFT community space. We've just started having conversations with a lot of games who are interested in gamifying, their clan or their guild based around their game. And another good one too, where having a verticalized UI focused on this specific use case would be really beneficial. This one. So Realms Refresh, this isn't live yet, but one of the things we've been doing, I think all of you who've gone to realms.today have noticed, the product is a little bit dated. I think there's a lot we can do to improve it. So we've, Dan on our team has been working hard on a refresh of Realms, basically making it actually feel like a product, making it feel like you're coming into an experience. That'll be coming soon. And that's also for folks who are curious, the little logo without the Realms name beside it. That's the new logo. And so you'll be seeing more and more of that branding to come. And then Replica Uis, I think, is also a pretty interesting one. So this one is if you think about protocols like Mango, they want to have their DAO experience live within the Mango website, right? They want to have their own front end. And so the thought here is, what can we as Realms do to make our own front end UI very, very plug and play? So such that someone like Mango who wants to create their own experience can come in, clone the UI, and pick the different modules from the UI that they want to have within the experience, customize it with their own branding. And I think as we see more and more protocol DAOs come to SPL Governance and look to create DAOs, I can see this being a much bigger piece. And then finally, improving the experience for existing users. What are the things we can do to actually improve Realms for folks using it today? So obviously, Sebastian is doing a ton around SPL governance, as are a lot of folks within this community. Some of the things we've recently added, we've added the ability for councils to veto. So giving councils more power in that process, and we know that's been something that's been important to a lot of the DAOs. One of the things we do want to do work on, and we've also added a separate quorum for councils as well. One of the things we do want to do work on is having fixed membership, though, is such that we allow for DAOs to actually decide, hey, these are the people we want on our council. That council token can't be transferred to someone else. And actually, if the DAO votes on it, they can remove someone from the council as well. So increasing some of the utility around different use cases there. This is probably the biggest one that we've worked on over the last 2 weeks. So like I said, we have probably 10 plus integration partners today, and we have many, many more folks coming to us looking to integrate. Right now, the integration process is very, for lack of a better word, janky, in the sense that they're coming in, they're sort of editing the client-side code. We don't have a great process for this today. And we're kind of doing this bespoke for each use case in terms of where it lives within the UI. And it's tough for the people who are coming in and integrating, right? They have to learn a lot, and there's a lot of steps they have to go through to integrate. And so one, it's thinking through, how can we build a better onboarding experience for these partners who want to integrate with us? And then two, is there a concept of sort of an app store where these different partners can live? Maybe, you have a treasury management section, you have a notification section. But doing some of this thinking is one of the things we'd love to work with you all around. And I think a really interesting area for an ecosystem team to come in and say, hey, we're going to try to be the integration folks. We're going to make these integrations as easy as possible and try to bring as many of them as we can into SPL governance. Okay, member UI improvements. So this is basically, there's a lot of low-hanging fruits within the Realms UI that can be improved, can be streamlined, whether it's creating a proposal, whether it's voting. So we just want to spend a little bit of time there. Performance as well. I'm sure many of you have seen this loading screen within Realms. So we're working with different indexing solutions to see if we can improve the performance on the front end side. Sorry, this is really skipping around. DAO and validators. So this is one where we think this is a really interesting opportunity for DAOs. Monkey DAO actually is running their own validators. And the reason that running a validator from within a DAO is interesting is validators are very difficult and expensive to run. So, if you're able to distribute some of that cost while making money for your DAO, while also supporting the Solana network, it's kind of this win-win-win. And so we'd love to create the environment where it's easier for DAOs who want to do this to onboard and be able to do so. And how can we create kind of this support and documentation around that? And then rewards. So like I said, we're gonna have a panel later this week on rewarding, but basically how can we reward people for taking positive actions within our DAO, and what's the right framework and structure for doing that? And then finally, ecosystem support and education. So like I said, one of the big thing, I know Sebastian's time, he's so responsive on Discord. You all have worked with him a ton. I don't know for our ecosystem, if Sebastian's time is best spent, having all of those introductory meetings, teaching folks the same thing every single time. And so basically getting help around sort of some of this Discord support documentation stuff. We're trying to hire internally to do it, but also finding ways to leverage the ecosystem to do that. And we have some ideas on that as well that I'll share momentarily. So just to make sure I didn't skip. So those are kind of the pillars that we're pursuing. And in thinking through the best way to sort of support these pillars and promote the ecosystem, I've sort of talked a little bit about different approaches we can take together. But one tangible thing we're also excited about doing is Realms Grants DAO. So we've gotten sort of permission from Solana Foundation to create a Grants DAO for Realms. It's going to be very experimental. We'll see how it goes. We're going to start it with a small amount of money to begin with. But basically, this is a way for us to create RFPs, create bounties around projects and initiatives that are important to all of us, right? And be able to incentivize the ecosystem to build in those gaps that we perceive. So this is one tangibly this week we would love to sort of work on together to define, hey, how should this DAO be run? What are the bounties and grants that we really care about? What's actually the process of going about this? And on top of all that, it's a really good way for us to dog food our own product, our own ecosystem, to make sure it's functioning in a cohesive manner. So if you're interested in this and brainstorming on this, feel free to come up to me, come up to Sebastian. Would love to chat with you guys on that. And with all of this stuff, all of this is, none of us can go at this alone. We need to work together to promote this ecosystem. And we're always available to chat through this stuff. So we spend all day thinking about this. If you ever have any ideas, if you see gaps that we haven't mentioned, if you feel like we should be working on other stuff, please reach out. Please chat with us. Once again, we think a rising tide lifts all boats. So let's do everything we can to help lift that tide. Awesome. Thanks, guys.